In this video, we're going to take a look at the Instant eCover Pro online 3D designer. This tool is an web-based application. It is run by Flash. So if you don't have Flash on your machine, you do need to get it installed. That's easy enough to do. Flash is free. Go ahead and get that installed on your machine if you're having trouble running the program. Now, once we're into the eCover Pro, we're going to take a look at the dashboard here, and from it you're going to see that you have access to 6 different types of covers that you can do. You've got ebooks, a couple different styles of software boxes, you've got a DVD box, kind of a classic box, and then also you've got a credit card style if you want to do a credit card. We're just going to do the standard ebook, so I'm going to go ahead and click on ebook. That'll move us from our select a cover over to the design your cover section. The first thing that we need to do is set our background image. So I'm going to go ahead, come over here to my background image, and I'm going to choose load. And I'm going to go to where my backgrounds are. And now I can choose a background. I have several already here. If you need to get a background, there's different places that you can get backgrounds from. Now, the first thing that you could do is you could do a Google search and look at the images there. But make sure that when you look at those images and you find one that you like, that you have rights to use it. So you're looking for something that grants you rights to use it. You can't just go out and grab someone's image and use it for your own. You're going to run into copyright issues if you do that. Some other places that you can get images from. One is Wikipedia. Wikipedia has several images that are what they call Creative Commons. So you can get the Creative Commons images from there, so you can look for those. The other place that for just a little bit of money you can get a good image is from iStockPhoto.com. Cost a few dollars. It's really not that expensive to get some really good quality images. You can also do some other Google searches. There's other resources out there of free images, so you can find them. So don't let that slow you down. What you're looking for is an image that is at least 640 by 480. Now, bigger images will work, but if you're using smaller than 640 by 480, you're going to see distortion. The images are going to be blurry. That's really not a route that you want to go. So make sure that they're at least 640 by 480. So I'm going to go ahead and look at the images here, and I'm going to grab this image right here. I'm going to go ahead and open that up. Now, that'll put my image on the screen there. Now, I've got a couple different features here. One, I can zoom on the image. Notice that the image size is not changing. So what I'm actually doing is zooming in on the picture, and I can kind of move around of what part I want to zoom in on and what part is going to match with my cover the best. I'm going to put that back to 100% there. And what I'm going to do also is I'm going to scale this. And if you look over at your edit tools right here, you'll notice that our transform mode right now is set to scale. Now when that's set to scale, if I come over here to one of the corners and I get the little hand pointer, when I click and drag, that's going to scale that image. And I want to make sure that it covers all of that outline area for the back, spine, and front. And as we do that, you're going to see that that changes your preview image over here. Now the other thing that we can do with our preview image is we can rotate that. So if I just click on that image and spin it around, I can get that to be at any angle that I want. So you can just adjust that. I'm just clicking on it and then moving my mouse so I get it at an angle where I want it. The other thing that you can do is you don't have to use the whole picture. So if you're trying to fit it exactly and size it down, what I'm actually going to do with this one, in fact, is I'm going to make it even larger. So I'll make it bigger. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it down. And we'll just move it down here a little bit. So now you'll see that that part of the image is just on the bottom of my book, and I could scale that more if I wanted to. I could grab a corner and move that out. So however I wanted to do that, however I wanted to align that image, I could. Let me make that just a little bit bigger, realign it to where I want it, and we'll move it down. So right there. So that looks good to me. So you've got the ability to do that. Now if you wanted to zoom on that as well, you have that ability. So you could move in more if you wanted to, however you want to adjust that. Now, the other thing that you might want to do, it really helps you with your branding, is to put a logo on the page. So I'm going to come over here to where it says logo image, and I'm going to click on load, and I'm going to go back to where my backgrounds are, because that's actually where I put my logo. And I have a logo out here, and there's my Instant eCover Pro. I'll grab that and click on open, and there's my logo. Now if I wanted to put this down in the lower right hand corner of my ebook cover, I could. I have the ability to do that. Now the other thing that I could do is I could rotate this image. So if I click on rotate here, it'll rotate that for me, and I could drag that over, and I can put that right on what would be considered the spine of my ebook there. I can adjust it so it's in a position that looks good. Now I'm still on scale, so if I click on this and I drag, it's going to make that bigger. But if I decide that I want that at a little bit of an angle, what I could do is I could click on rotate, and now what I could do is I could rotate this, and it'll actually wrap itself around the spine. Now I don't want to do that. I'm going to bring it back up to the top here, get that set back up, and I'm going to move this back to scale. But you do have the ability to rotate. I could have rotated that background as well, so I have that ability. Now you have a setting down here for the canvas, and you can set the canvas color. So if I come down here and where it says canvas, and I've got this little white box down here, I'm going to click on the white box, which is going to bring up my color palette, and now I can choose a color. So if I wanted a black background, I could choose that, click on save and close. Now we don't see any impact on the image that we have there now, because we're covering our whole cover with our image. But if I were to click on my image and bring it down, you'll see that that's going to put a color band up on top. If I were to move this image way to the right, you would see that it would change that color there as well. So I'm just going to move this up here just a little bit, and I'll move it to where I really want it in a minute. But I want you to see that I've got some black area here, I have some black area here, and it's not covering up the entire back. Well, we can entirely spin this around so that we can see the back of the ebook, and we're actually not going to worry about the back of our ebook. But if we were putting information on the back of our ebook that we're also going to export and show, we would worry about this, and you would want to make sure that that was covered up as well so that you don't get that black image there. But I'm going to rotate this back around, and I'm going to get this at an angle that I like. Set that right there. And then I'm going to move this image up so it's actually covering what I want it to, and I get the look that I want. The trick is to play with your images. So then I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next step here. So it looks like we've covered everything on this screen as far as the images go. Now up here on the left, you're going to notice that there's also a couple other tabs, and there's one here for the text tool. Let's go ahead and click on text tool. Looks kind of blank, but you'll notice this button right here for add new text. Go ahead and click on add new text. It'll bring up your text properties. From here, you can choose the font that you want. You'll see a bunch of different options that we can choose from. And I'm going to stay fairly basic. I'm going to go with the Arial Black. Then you can choose your size, and I'm going to go up here and I'm going to choose, let's do 50. And it's kind of hard to see because we've got that black background right now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to click in the middle of this, and I'm going to drag it over to my cover here, and I can stretch this. I can resize that. But now if you want to change that text, you just come down here and you type in what you want this to be. So if I want this to say my ebook cover, I now have that on there, and I have the my ebook cover. We can move to align it. Now I could change the font size, but I could also just resize the box and get that to the size that I want. Now you have your font color, so if you want a different font color, just click on this, choose the color that you want, save and close, and now you have that color on your text. You've got an outline color as well. So if you come up here and change the outline color, and let's outline this in yellow for right now. Notice nothing happened to my text. That's because we have not turned on the option here to show the text outline. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that on, and now I see that I do have my outline color on there. Now I'm actually going to decide that I don't like that outline color, so I'm going to change it. So I'm going to click on here, and I'm going to select a darker blue. I'm going to save and close, and now I have my outline color on there. So you've got that option as well. We could also make this bold, italic, underline. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm going to leave it like it is. Now there's an option down here for frame properties, and I'm going to say to show the frame, and that'll put a frame in there, but then you have to determine what the width of that frame would be. So you can see how that is adjusting on there. Let's actually change the frame color so it stands out a little bit more. I'm going to make my frame color white. So I'm going to come up here and click in the white. Save and close. And now I can adjust my frame width. Now you can also adjust the frame height. So we'll go ahead and get that to the right height. Now the other option that you have here is to show the background. So I'm going to go ahead and show the background, and right now our background color is set to white. I can change that as well. So I'll go ahead and choose a color for that background. Save and close, and now I have that frame in there, and I can move this anywhere that I want. If you wanted a second text element on there, you have that ability as well. All you need to do is click on Add New Text, and we'll start all over. We can move that to where we want it, change the text, and I'm going to say that this is the best book ever. I can change that size to any size that I want, and I can change that font color. Find a color that works for me, save and close, get that lined up to where I want it, and now I have the My ebook cover and my subtext underneath that. And I could move that around, I could rotate that, anything that I need to do to get that in place. Now there is another option here that we haven't talked about yet, which are the masks. If you click on masks, you'll see that you've got some weird looking pictures here. What the masks do is they will create a band. So you saw when I did the background color and I moved my image down that we had kind of a solid band of color. Well, there's some different options here with your bands. So if I just leave this as black and I say mask enabled, you'll see that this first one gives you a band on the top and bottom. I could kind of do a fade if I choose this one. So it's going to fade that black down through there. I can kind of get a rounded look with it if I choose this one here. If we wanted a band down through the middle. So you could play with those different masks in there. The other thing that you could choose when you're working with the colors that I haven't talked about yet is the opacity here. And right now this is set at 100%, and if I scroll this down and I say, oh, only make it 20%, and I'm going to save and close, you can see how that just gives us a little bit of shading in there. So if we're working with something where there's a strong image, but we just want to kind of shade that out a little bit to get our text in there, we can work with that by using our mask. Now, we already kind of have a mask in there. The image that I chose gave me an area up on top here, so I'm going to go ahead and leave that. Everything is looking good, so I'm going to go ahead and click on Next, and this shows me my final view. I could rotate this a little bit here if I wanted to, make sure that everything looks like I need it to, and when everything is done, I could click on Download and it'll create a copy. Now, one thing I want to mention really quick is there is an option here to show reflection, and if you show the reflection, what that's going to do is it's going to show you a light reflection of the book down here. I don't need the reflection for what I'm working on. I just want the clean cover, so I'm not going to show the reflection. I'm going to go ahead and click on Download, and I'm going to go here and save this just as my cover design. Click on Save. Now, I already had one out here. If you've already done one, make sure you do a unique name. I'm going to go ahead and just replace the one I had out there before, so I'll say yes. And now you saved your image, so it's that easy. Now, if you need to do another image, let's say that you also are doing a CD or a DVD with your book. I'm just going to move back here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the DVD box, and very quickly you'll see that you have some graphics and everything that'll work quite well. Now, on this case, this eCover Pro on the spine may not work well, so what I may want to do is I may want to click that, rotate it down, maybe make it a little bit smaller for this graphic, and I'll move it down here. But you'll notice in our preview that this looks kind of blacked out here, and it's kind of hard to see, but that's actually a shadow for a CD image, and you'll notice that you've got an option up here for DVD disc. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and if I go back to my Images tab, you'll see now what we can do is we can add another image to this, and we've got another section here for disk image. So we'll just go ahead and load, and we'll go back to our backgrounds and choose a background that we think would be appropriate. And I think I have another swirl down here of a slightly different color. There we go. And we'll click on open. And we can do everything with this that we did on the previous one as far as resizing it, zooming it, moving it around, whatever we need to do for our image. So I could rotate if that works better for this. And when I'm all done, and I go back to my cover design, let's go next. There you see the image. Now I could add text to that, everything that I did with the ebook cover, and then you've got your CD image as well. And then all you do is you download that and save that, and then you have both. So that's the eCover Pro. That is the online version of it. Simple to use, real easy to create covers quickly.